Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Talk Thursday. On March 15th, UP Manila student Cristel Tejada committed suicide. Her death sparked discussions about the circumstances that prompted this young freshman to take her life. With us today to share her thoughts about this incident is grief educator and counselor Kathy Babao. She's the author of 2 books on grief and loss. Kathy, thank you for joining us
Yes,
tonight.
thank you, Marie.
You watched this whole thing unfold on social media. What was your reaction?
Wow, it's like, the incident took a life of its own, and there were so many misconceptions about, suicide, flying from left and right that,
Yes.
I saw it as a chance, an opportunity to correct, in my own way, in my own little way, the misconceptions that were going, all over the place, actually. Yeah.
And when you were looking at it, going all over the place, I mean, when I was watching it, the
Yes.
first thing that came out was an automatic assumption that it was this UP Manila's fault.
Right, that's right.
Is that correct?
I've said it again and again, and I'll say it again, that suicide is very complex. There is no single factor that you can pinpoint to the actual suicide. It's always a confluence of events, a series of events that have unfolded over a long period of time.
And in this particular instance, she's young. She's
Freshman.
She's a freshman in
Yes,
college.
yeah.
It was fascinating to watch the discussion move immediately to UP Manila's fault, but very little was said about the parents.
That's right.
In a situation like that, again, what role did the parents play?
Yeah. Everyone seemed to have zeroed in on UP Manila, that was obvious, and the tuition issue. But yeah, they seem to have forgotten all the other factors that might have come into play that may have contributed to her, her state of mind when she decided to commit the act. Home life, as you mentioned, her parents play without casting any blame, because we know so little
Correct.
about her home life.
Yes.
Home life in this age group is also a factor that needs to be considered. The type of support systems that she had, what was going on in her life, what was going on inside the home. That's another thing that people should actually take a look into.
One of the first suicides I covered as a young reporter was Jaime
Yes.
Ungpin, which is very different because of the differences in ages.
He was an adult, yeah.
Why do people commit suicide?
There are many reasons why people get to that point. There are some driven by, what they call clinical depression.
Yes. That was JVO.
That was JVO, yes. In younger, suicide is I think, ranked 3rd as a cause of death globally in that age group, 15 to 19 years old. So, adolescence, right? A very period in your life where the emotions are very strong, where you don't have enough coping skills, or coping skills that were supposedly formed from childhood. So many actually, you can't say that this caused the suicide. It's always a mix of the high risk, what we call the high risk factors, and the protective factors that are there.
What are the danger signals family and friends should be
Okay,
looking
let's zero
for?
in on that age group, right? 15
Yes.
to 19. Symptoms or signals that a teacher or a classmate can probably look out for is, the student suddenly starts to isolate herself, absenteeism, changes in sleep patterns, changes in eating patterns, loss of interest in activities that the student previously wanted to engage in, and sometimes outright saying that I have so many troubles. Every threat of suicide needs to be taken seriously, whether or not it is carried out, because the studies have shown that 70% of those who threaten 70% of those who threaten suicide actually attempt it.
In the case of Cristel Tejada, a lot more, many more details have come out
Yes.
since March 15th. What picture has come out of her?
You know, in spite of the details that I would defer making a what they call, you know, what psychiatrists call a psychological autopsy
Yes.
is the term for it, unless you get all your facts in then.
Right.
But it was, you know, as in many other cases of suicide, it seems to be apparent that she had been throwing signs a month or 2 months back. It's just that perhaps people she was talking to or the community that she was in was not quite, you know, picking it up.
Are adolescents more prone to suicide than adults?
There's a rising, the
A
cases
rising.
the cases among adolescents are rising lately.
My perception in the past was that, you know, people would kind of throw it out because they didn't get their date, that it was much more, that it wasn't something you should take so seriously. Are you saying that has the modern world changed that?
It seems like it. That you know that that aspect has changed. That's why now, like I said, I always tell my students in class that, you know, when you hear someone say that, oh, you know, I think I want to kill myself, whether it's a joke or not, you should take the time to probe and see what is, you know, going on in your friend's life and report it.
In this particular situation, again, you watched the whole thing blow up.
Yeah.
How did first media handle it, and then how did society react?
I think everyone was deeply affected by it. Here's a young girl, you know, driven to finish school to help improve the plight of her family, and, you know, is refused access somehow. I mean, that will touch a nerve in anyone,
Yes.
right? But the thing is, what I had hoped would not happen was that, of course, it will hit you where it will hit you, either as a parent, as an educator, as a counselor.
Right.
So everyone will have their own agenda. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So her death shouldn't, I mean, if you really want to honor the person, don't use the death to push an agenda, is what
Correct.
I'm saying. We can all talk to each other.
Yes.
You know, help each other. Media can do their part.
Yes.
We can push for better mental health, you know, access, erase, diminish stigma. If there is a problem in the system in UP Manila, then look into it.
Yes.
You don't have to like incite people to, you know, do destructive acts.
What we've seen now is that UP Manila initially said that no guilt, and then now it's swung the other way. Again, it's getting rid of the system.
Right.
Is that an overreaction?
Could be. I think they need to find a middle ground somewhere. Yeah. Because there's a lot of clamor, right, from various groups.
Right.
And her death is very new. She hasn't even been buried yet,
Yes.
right? So the emotions are very raw for everyone, from the chancellor down to the professors who were involved, to the classmates, to the whole UP Manila community, to her parents, especially to her parents. Yeah.
What lessons, if anything, do we take out of this?
Well, for me, primarily, I look at it, you know, twofold. Coming from both as an educator and as a, you know, grief
Counselor.
educator,
Yeah.
counselor. Yeah. One is, okay, I'm fine with looking into the system. If there are like things that we need to correct there to perhaps help the greater majority, then fine. But do it in a peaceful, you know, more constructive manner. Secondly is really awareness for suicide, prevention, training people, breaking the stigma. Stigma is very strong here.
What do you
in
mean by the
Philippines.
stigma strong? The stigma of going for help, or the stigma of being in a family where suicide happens?
Both ways. Number one, going for help. It could be that I don't know if she was referred to
Yes.
a professional, if she went to a professional, but if there is the stigma there, then, she wouldn't have spoken about it openly that, I'm seeing a psychiatrist or I'm seeing a psychologist. Or within the family, I don't know if she told her parents or if the parents were supportive of her seeking treatment or seeking therapy. And you mentioned, yes, family history, because sometimes, yes, that is something that you also need to look into. If there is a family history of suicide or depression, that needs to be talked about. That needs to be brought out into the light so that everyone in the family is aware that, hey, it could happen again.
So if I know someone, or if I'm feeling this, who do I go to for help?
If you have thoughts,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Well, you can tell a trusted friend,
Yes.
or I would encourage you to seek help.
Professional help.
Yes, professional help.
And again, you mentioned a stigma, right? I've heard that from friends still,
Yes.
until today.
It still does
And
exist.
then the level. How about the level of our clinical psychologist? Is it? Are we up to speed in the Philippines?
Yes, we have a good. There are many clinical psychologists now who are very good in their practice. They're like private clinics. Some of them are hospital based, and there's a Philippine Psychiatric Association. There are child psychiatrists. There are psychiatrists who specialize in teens and adolescents, and those who specialize in adults. So it's very easy to get access to a psychiatrist. I'm not too sure about within the school systems. I know there are guidance counselors, but I'm not very not confident, but about the level of training when it comes to suicide prevention.
I'm going to go back again
Yeah.
to Christelle's case, and I don't want to blame anyone, but
Yes.
certainly when you're looking at any young adolescent who wants to commit suicide, in the hierarchy of responsibility, it's the person himself, then the family.
The family
correct?
plays a huge
Parents would be
factor, a huge role. The roots of, especially among adolescents, there are a lot of self-esteem issues, coping skills, resilience. That's another lesson I think that we can learn here. Building resilience, the importance of family, no matter, because family now, when you say family, it comes in different shapes and forms and sizes.
Right.
That it's important that a child or a teenager has that safe harbor that they can return to, that they know that they have the support of their parents, that they feel that love within the family. I mean, it's one thing to be told that you love your child, but it's another thing to make that child feel that love. There's a huge difference there.
If this is a question from Atsisa said, what can we do to help someone if they exhibit suicidal symptoms?
I would talk to that person and find out. Don't be afraid to ask if they have been having, thoughts of, suicide. And then from there, you can probe if you are trained. If you're not comfortable about it, you can refer to a teacher perhaps, or to a health professional.
Again, my perception of Philippine society is that suicide, we are very interconnected. Social networks are
Yes.
very strong in the society. How prevalent are incidents of suicide?
Lately, I've noticed, there seems to be a increase, and it's like, contagion. Yeah,
Yes.
that's what we need to avoid. And of course, media plays
Media
a
coverage,
huge
right,
media
right,
coverage plays
right.
a huge role.
Copycat, modeling, right?
Yes,
Kind of.
yes. I think just yesterday or the other day there was another case of a young boy. So